Welcome back to the deep dive. We're jumping into some really interesting source material you shared with us today. It's a text that, well, it lays out ways to find a happy life.
That's right. Think of it like a guide, maybe. A framework grounded in certain principles, certain practices, all aimed at cultivating a real sense of contentment.
Okay, and our goal here, our mission for this deep dive, is to really explore that guide. We want to unpack the text, pull out the core ideas.
Dig into what they mean, yeah.
Exactly, and see what this perspective suggests you, the listener, can actually do to find that happiness in your own life.
Mm-hmm. We'll start with the basics, the foundation the text builds on, and then work our way through the inner practices and the outward actions it recommends, see how it all connects.
Okay, let's get into this framework then. The source doesn't really, ease you in. It goes straight for what it calls the absolute foundation for happiness. Not just temporary happiness, but something deeper, lasting.
Yeah, it's quite direct.
So what does it say is that fundamental basis?
The text is really clear on this. It argues that genuine happiness, the kind that sustains you and goes beyond just fleeting pleasure, is fundamentally tied to two things. Faith, which it calls iman.
Iman, okay.
And consistently doing good deeds, amal, salih.
Faith and good deeds. That's the bedrock.
That's the bedrock. And the source explicitly connects this, referencing a concept from the Quran, Surah An-Nahl, verse 97. It links this very pair belief and action to living what it calls a good life.
A hayat, tayyibah.
Exactly, a hayat, tayyibah. The argument presented is that this combination, this synergy between your inner conviction and your outward positive actions is essential. The text implies that without this, any other efforts towards happiness won't really stand firm.
So it's not like you just add faith plus deeds. It sounds more integrated, like they feed each other. Your belief shapes your actions. Maybe your actions strengthen your belief?
That's a great way to put it. The text definitely sees them as interwoven. One without the other isn't enough for the kind of deep happiness it's talking about. This harmony is the foundation for everything else.
Right, that makes sense as a starting point. So with faith and good deeds established as the base, where does the text go next? It seems to shift towards inner practices, things you cultivate inside yourself.
Yes, exactly. It moves to essential internal states. And the first big one it highlights is gratitude. Shukr.
Gratitude. But it sounds like it's more than just saying thanks.
Oh, much more. It's presented as this deep conscious awareness and appreciation for all of God's blessings.
All blessings. Does that mean the obvious stuff, like health and family, or?
It specifically mentions both, actually. The apparent blessings, the things you can easily see, health, safety, having enough, but also the hidden ones.
Hidden blessings. Like what?
Things like maybe a difficulty that was averted without you even knowing, or a lesson learned through a challenge, subtle protections you might not recognize. And importantly, the text stresses gratitude isn't just a feeling or a word.
How so?
Its truest form is shown through your actions, using those blessings in ways that align with your faith, with doing good.
Ah, okay, so it's active. You show thanks by how you use what you've been given. That's interesting.
Exactly. And the source, it's a fascinating point here. Cultivating this kind of active gratitude, it says, actually helps increase your blessings.
Really?
And it acts as a protection against harm.
Gratitude as protection. How does that work, according to the text? Is it like a spiritual shield or more psychological?
It's primarily framed spiritually. Acknowledging the source brings more from the source. But you can definitely see the psychological angle, too. If you're actively grateful for something, you're probably less likely to misuse it, right?
True. You'd take better care of it.
Which naturally protects you from negative consequences. Plus, a grateful mindset gives you a kind of reserve, a different way to face challenges when they come up.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that connects to perspective, doesn't it? That the text talks about that, too, how gratitude shapes how we see things.
Absolutely. Gratitude is tied directly to contentment. And the text gives some very practical advice here. It says, when it comes to worldly things money, status, possessions, make a conscious effort to look at those who have less than you.
Instead of always looking up at those who have more.
Precisely. Don't constantly compare yourself upwards. Look downwards, in a sense, regarding worldly matters.
That's a powerful mental shift. Stops you feeling discontent about what you lack.
And instead, fosters appreciation for what you do have. The source explicitly says this practice stops you from belittling God's blessings upon you. It combats that dissatisfaction that envy breeds. You see how much you actually possess, especially compared to others, and your blessings feel more real.
Okay, so active gratitude linked with this perspective shift leads towards contentment. What's another key inner state the text highlights for happiness?
The remembrance of God. Dhikr. This is presented as a major source of inner peace, tranquility for the heart.
Remembrance. How does remembering bring peace? Is it like meditating on specific things or just generally being mindful?
The text in this section doesn't detail the how as much as the what. It states the outcome very clearly, citing the concept from a verse. Truly, in the remembrance of God do hearts find rest.
Okay.
So the implication is that consciously bringing God to mind, whether through specific phrases, thinking about his creation, just being aware of his presence, it anchors you. It gives you a point of stillness in a noisy, anxious world. It shifts your focus.
Away from the daily worries towards something constant.
That's the idea. It provides a deep sense of calm. It's a spiritual grounding. And closely related to this, the text brings up reliance on God. Tawakkul.
Reliance. Okay, now that sounds like something that could be misunderstood. Does it mean just sitting back and hoping for the best?
Yes.
Passive?
This is really crucial, and the source is careful to clarify. It insists that tawakkul, reliance on God, is not passive laziness. It's not neglecting the means.
No, good.
Quite the opposite. It requires you to take all the necessary practical steps available to you, while at the same time putting your ultimate trust in God for the outcome.
So it's both. Effort and trust. You do everything you can, but you accept you're not ultimately in control of the result.
Precisely. It's not either. The text references the idea that God is sufficient for those who rely on him, but that reliance comes after you've done your part. It's like studying really hard for a test that's your effort, tying your camel. Then you trust God for the result.
Right. If you don't study, it's not reliance, it's just negligence.
Exactly. That distinction is key. It's active trust, coupled with your best effort.
And speaking of results and outcomes, the text also gets into acceptance. Acceptance of God's decree.
Accepting whatever happens, whether it seems good or bad to us.
Yes. Accepting what God has ordained, whatever it might be.
That sounds incredibly hard, especially when things are really difficult. How does accepting hardship lead to happiness?
The source positions this acceptance as a shield against regret. Specifically, it protects you from that destructive loop of if only.
Oh, that endless cycle. If only I'd done this differently. If only that hadn't happened. Exactly. The text is quite firm here. It links dwelling on if only to negative influences, even mentioning the devil, because it just leads to misery, feeling helpless, fighting what's already done. Acceptance, the source argues, breaks that cycle. It allows you to move on because you accept it as part of a bigger picture, even if you don't understand it.
Yeah.
It stops you being paralyzed by regretting things you simply cannot change now.
Okay, so these inner states really work together. Gratitude for what is, perspective for contentment, remembrance for peace, active reliance when you strive, and acceptance to cut off regret. That's a powerful internal toolkit. Now, with that internal foundation laid, let's shift to the practical things, the outward actions the text recommends for this happy life.
Right. The first practical point the text really hammers home is seeking beneficial knowledge.
Okay, learning.
And acting on it. That second part is crucial.
Why the emphasis on acting on the knowledge isn't learning good in itself?
From this perspective, knowledge isn't just for collecting. It's real value. And what the source says distinguishes a believer is putting it into practice. Knowing about gratitude is one thing. Being grateful is another. Knowing about reliance is theoretical. Practicing reliance is where it counts.
So unused knowledge is what? A burden.
Or just ineffective, yeah.
Yeah.
It only contributes to that good life when it translates into how you actually live.
Got it. Learn, then apply. Makes sense. What other actions?
Supplication. Dua. This is presented as a key practical tool. It's your direct line, asking for help and guidance from God.
Are there specific things the text suggests asking for?
It mentions a kind of comprehensive supplication, one that covers the main areas of life. You ask God to correct your religious affairs, make sure your faith and practice are sound.
Okay, the spiritual side.
Then to improve your worldly life, well-being, provision, making daily life easier. And finally, to grant a good outcome in the hereafter.
Covering all the bases, spiritual, worldly, future.
Exactly. And the text notes that you make this supplication while maintaining that state of reliance, tawakkul, we talked about. You ask, you trust, knowing you've done your part.
What about just, practical daily stuff, like work, earning a living?
Yep, the text touches on that too. The importance of striving for your provision, seeking your livelihood through honest work and effort.
And how does that fit into happiness?
The source links it to, physical health, maintaining your dignity, not having to rely on others. It provides a sense of purpose. It's a necessary worldly effort that supports the whole picture. Again, though, it's effort combined with reliance. You work hard, but understand that provision ultimately comes from God.
It's always that balance, isn't it? Effort and trust. What about making decisions, big life choices?
Yes, the text mentions seeking counsel. 2 times, actually. Consulting other knowledgeable or trustworthy people, that's istishara.
Okay, getting advice.
And also seeking specific guidance directly from God before a major decision. That's istikhara.
So consulting people and seeking that divine guidance.
Right. They're seen as practical steps you take before committing to something important. It complements the inner reliance. You use the wisdom available, human and divine.
Okay, but life isn't always smooth sailing, even if you do all this. Challenges happen. How does the text say we should handle difficulties?
It's very direct here. The prescribed response, the appropriate response to hardship, is patience, sabr.
Patience. Just endure it.
Well, it's more active than just endurance, and this leads to something the source calls the believer's amazing state.
Okay, intriguing. What's so amazing about it?
The text describes it like this. The believer is actually always in a good situation, whether things seem easy or hard. When something good happens, they show gratitude, and that gratitude benefits them.
Right, we covered gratitude.
But when a hardship hits, they respond with patience, and that patience also benefits them. It's counted as good for them, too.
Wow. Okay, so good times lead to gratitude, which is good. Bad times lead to patience, which is also good. It kind of transforms the negative potential of hardship.
Exactly. That's the core idea. The source says this state is unique because it rests on that foundation of faith and the principles we've discussed. Gratitude comes from recognizing blessings. Patience comes from acceptance and reliance. It reframes challenges not just as obstacles, but as opportunities for a positive spiritual response.
That's a really powerful way to look at difficulty. Patience isn't just waiting it out. It's an active, beneficial act.
That's how the source presents it. Hardship imbued with potential good. And just briefly circling back, the text also reiterates looking at those less fortunate, not just once, but continuously.
Like a regular check-in.
Yeah, a constant recalibration to maintain that appreciation and contentment, which helps when you face your own difficulties.
Makes sense. What about how we treat other people? Does character and manners play a role in this happy life picture?
Oh, absolutely. The source strongly connects having good character, being kind, respectful, not causing harm directly to your own happiness and well-being.
So it's not just about your inner state or your connection with God, but how you interact with others impacts your own contentment.
That's the link it makes, yeah. Bad character, mistreating people, that's implicitly disruptive to your own peace, your own good life. Good character aligns with good deeds and fosters positive connections. It contributes to your overall state.
It really sounds like a whole system, internal, divine connection, social interaction.
It is holistic. And one last specific point the source mentions is health. Afia. Good health is seen as a tremendous blessing.
Something to be grateful for and look after.
Yes, definitely. Appreciated, sought after, maintained. Another practical part of a complete good life, according to this text.
Okay, so if we try to pull all these threads together, the inner states like gratitude and acceptance, the outer actions like seeking knowledge and striving, the perspective on challenges, our character, how do they all combine for this good life?
The source shows them as interconnected, reinforcing each other. Faith and good deeds are the base. The inner states gratitude, remembrance, reliance, acceptance provide stability and the right mindset. These inner states then fuel the outward actions, applying knowledge, making dua, working, seeking counsel. Then, facing challenges with patience turns potential setbacks into spiritual gains because of that amazing state.
Right.
And all of this is lived out through good character and appreciating blessings like health. It's like a cycle where each part strengthens the others, building towards that deep happiness the text describes.
It sounds like a very intentional way to live, where every aspect, from belief to daily actions, is sort of aligned towards that goal of inner peace and outward goodness.
That's the comprehensive picture, yes.
Yeah.
A dynamic state you cultivate through conscious effort, trust, and a particular worldview.
This has been, wow, a really deep dive into this source's framework for happiness. Quite detailed.
It definitely offers a structured path based on its core principles.
So just to quickly recap the main takeaways from the text for everyone listening, it kicks off with that non-negotiable foundation. Faith and good deeds are essential for true happiness here and hereafter.
Right. Then the focus shifts inward. Cultivating deep, active gratitude for everything, finding peace through remembering God, practicing active reliance alongside effort and freeing yourself from regret through acceptance.
And those inner states support the practical side. Seeking knowledge you actually use, making comprehensive supplication, working honestly for your needs, and using consultation and divine guidance for big decisions.
And crucially, how you face challenges. Patience is key, leading to that amazing state where both ease through gratitude and hardship through patience become beneficial. Plus, the importance of good manners and appreciating basic blessings like health.
All working together, the text suggests, for that good life, that state of real contentment.
That's the synthesis presented in the source.
Okay, so as you, our listener, think about everything we've explored today from this text, here's a final thought to consider. Which one specific way or principle that we discussed really stood out to you? Maybe it was the active gratitude part, or the idea of reliance with effort, or perhaps the power of acceptance in dealing with if-onlys.
Just one that resonated most right now.
Exactly, just pick one. And based only on that single insight from this source material, what's one small, achievable step you could think about taking, maybe this week, to bring that principle a little more into your own life, your own mindset?
A practical application. Food for thought.
Definitely. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Always a pleasure. Until next time.